Hi, my name is Mario. I'm a filmmaker. I make commercials. You know, the one with the dog running behind the wagon? Yeah, that was me. In 1999, I stumbled upon this website that surprised me because of their objectivity, their knowledge, and of course its page rank on Google. And that website is still going strong. That website is dinosaurguitar.com. 20 years later, Dinosaur Raw Guitar still is the go-to place to learn about Alex Lexon syndrome and Gary Moore's rocket past. But hey, enough of my yakking. Let's get rocking.
Girls gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Evil thoughts that cause destruction, author of death's construction. In the fields, the bodies burning, as the war machine keeps turning. Death and hatred to mankind, in their brainwashed minds. Oh Lord, yes.
I started the site because I was going on other forums and I was not finding the kind of music and the kind of guitar playing that I really was into.
Right.
I'd go on the Fender forum and
It was
things
all
like that.
Kenny Wayne Shepherd
And everybody was into
Yeah.
Mark Flopkner, and I just was not having it. And I'd try to strike up these conversations about like the guys that we like, and it wasn't happening. No one was.
right.
A couple of people took the bait, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm with you, Blackmore, Gary Moore." We were like into that stuff, but at the time there was this backlash from the mid '80s where everything was heavy rock and heavy metal had gone the way of blues, and Stevie Ray Vaughan
Yeah.
was really forcing all of these guys who are hard rock players and metal players to turn in their Marshalls and turn in their Super Strats and
Become a bunch of pussies.
they were trading in their Marshall stacks and 88 preamps and things like that for matchless combos and Stevie Ray Vaughan hats. And these were guys who could play a lot more than blues, but they were choosing not to. They were following the trend of the day, and there were a bunch of us, a handful of us, saying, "Fuck that shit, we are not going there."
discovered the website actually, but I think it was through a friend of mine who. So we were in college at UC Irvine, and I forget how I met this guy, but we were both into the same kind of music. We were into like a lot of the classic rock, hard rock kind of stuff, guitar playing that was being done before like the 90s, because we grew up as 90s kids. And I think I think that's how I got into the website. And some of the favorite moments, I mean, there's quite a few, but probably like my favorite moments is when it kind of came into real life human contact. I was discussing this with a bunch of the guys here, like back in 2014. I think it was 2014 when we had my first DRG meetup and meeting a bunch of the guys. It was just amazing, like just the community, everybody who showed up. It was in Baltimore. Everybody was super friendly. Everybody was awesome, and we did some jams.
The Jeb Jams.
Yeah, man, and got to see Jeb in action. You play also, and it was great. It was also nice to like jam with people who had like-minded interests in the type of music that I kind of wanted to play, and in some ways kind of served as like unofficial mentors to the cause, because they knew about like techniques and gear that was far beyond like my realm of knowledge. So that was super cool. So the fact that they were also like genuinely nice people was like the cherry on top.
So I put this thing together, and it was like 5 or 6 pages of web content when it first started.
Yeah.
And it grew from there. This guy was one of the first people there.
I found it right when you got your logo. I came up there when I was selling guitars for Brew Baker, me and Andy.
Yep.
And
And
then
you came up with like a boatload of guitars.
I had a shitload of guitars, and I got a flat tire on the way back to New York at
Yep.
like 2 o'clock in the morning.
That's
man.
when you had the Jeb Mobile.
I had the black Crown Vic.
Yeah.
It was like
he
a
had this thing.
top
He did the Bluesmobile was a
Yeah,
shitmobile.
that thing was
This
awesome.
thing was like the Bluesmobile, but like 1/10 the car of the Bluesmobile. This thing had like 400,000 miles on it or something like
Not
that.
then. I wouldn't have taken it all the way to Boston from Baltimore. But I remember that it broke down and my friend Andy was there, and we broke down on the side of the road. And I'm like, I don't even think I have a jack. And I remember he's praying. He's like, he does this prayer, and he opens up. There's a jack. And then we had to come back to Brooklyn and like sleep in their hallway. And I remember waking up, and they went and got me like a cheap tire somewhere, and then I drove back to Baltimore.
On some ball-ass tire, yeah.
But that was a different world. That was before I got sick. I worked for corporate America. I was like a fucking coat and tie guy. I weighed about 220 pounds. Went to the gym every day. And yeah, that was like a whole different life.
I remember going for a ride in that car, like over the hills and dales of your neighborhood in Baltimore, and like you'd slam your head against the ceiling because
That was a different one.
You'd go over these hills and like he'd be like flying over this because he knew the road so well, and we'd like get air, and the car would be like
That was a
weaving
different-
all over.
that
That
was
was the Jetmobile too.
That was the one that was really gross.
Keep going. I think you may have been the first person I met from the site.
I came up to Boston one time with my friend Andy from Brooklyn,
Yep.
and we jammed in your well, you met Venom Boy too. You met him before me.
I didn't meet him in person before you.
What?
You were the first guy. You were in Baltimore. I was in Boston. He was in Silicon Valley. And
Yeah, but I thought he came to Boston and you met him.
no, he didn't come to Boston. The first time I met him was the first time we all went out to Nam. So
No.
yeah.
He tells a different story, dude. You must be missing something. He says he was at your house in Boston and you guys jammed. In your room that you had in Boston.
Fuck. He might be right. Or I might be drunk. I don't know.
No, I mean, you know,
It's possible, but I still think I met you first.
we like relive these stories pretty often.
And like he said, we were 35 at the time. We're now
Yeah.
20 years older than that. And our memories aren't what they used to be.
Well, mine is.
Well, mine is.
Okay, so if you don't know me, I'm Mario. My handle on the website is M11. I found the website, must have been somewhere like some time around 07, 08, something like that. I was probably looking for tabs back in the day, or some kind of information regarding some particular tone. And then I found one of the Alchemy profiles and it's like, oh, there's someone out there that likes the exact same guitar players that I do. So I joined the forum. I've actually discovered a lot of stuff that I ended up liking a lot later. For example, before the forum I did not know who Gary Moore was other than a blues player. So, and then I go, oh, so this guy used to rock. Like, oh my God, he used to rock real hard. And just a couple of months ago I discovered Frank Marino. Why it's such a big deal, and it's the closest thing to having like friends recommend you stuff. But most of my friends are way past, I guess, if you could say it, rock music. Whereas I guess I'm still a dinosaur in that sense, and I'm still.
It was Jeb being slick.
I'm still kind of, stuck in the time period of 70s and 80s. You know what my favorite moment was probably? Was when you guys went to Nam in like 09 or 010 or something.
So if we're talking about favorite moments, I think one of my favorite moments that we've had was the first Nam show in 2008 where we did the first round table. where we got Rick Miller
Oh,
to come out
yeah. Oh my
from
God.
St. Louis, and we had Kurt.
It was like the first
from
time
Chuck.
he had been away from his house in
He
like
hadn't
20
been on an
years.
airplane since there had been propellers.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
so
he didn't eat shrimp. He couldn't eat anything. It's like, dude, this is good.
no,
Yeah.
he was Rick's about 10 years older than the two of us, and he's a great guy. And he took a leap of faith, and he went from his home in St. Louis and flew out to meet a bunch of people he'd never met face to face.
Yeah.
And we picked him up in a van. We were in a van. We were like this
What
traveling.
was that all about?
We were in this traveling van of like
I remember.
you and me and John Walker and Arthur.
And I was talking
and-
funny. I remember I wasn't even using my real
And
voice.
we pulled up to his hotel room, his hotel where we would meet him outside, and Rick jumps in the van, and you can tell he was like visibly uncertain for about 10 minutes. And then he was like, after 10 minutes, he's like, I know these guys.
And there's this video of you, Dave, where you're trying out the Tiny Terror. This was before the whole boom of the lunchbox, amps. And at the time, I could not afford a Marshall stack, which was my dream of having. A Marshall 2, with a big 4x12. And thanks to you guys, I found, oh my God, they're making these affordable little things that I could take over to some, rehearsal space. Why I ended up getting a Tiny Terror was because of that video when you're playing a riff and you're like, oh shit, this little thing sized like a lunchbox sounds amazing.
And the guitar was a piece of shit, but the amp sounded amazing.
Amazing,
Yeah,
like-
it's like
Yes, I'm getting that one. And then I went on eBay, how much is it? And I had my sister living in Canada at the time probably, and I go, okay, can I ship it to your place because it's going to be cheaper? And yeah, I still have that Tiny Terror, and thanks to DinoRockGuitar.com.
But anyway, we went to Kurt Anderson's store in California. Kurt, who now is the founder of Chub Tone Guitars, who, my third one's on the way. Kurt has a great guitar store, and he let us film the first round table there, and it was you and me and Rich Beazold, Demented Ted,
Rich Beazold,
and
Rick Miller.
and Kurt.
There was a couple other people too, wasn't there?
No, I think that's it. I think it was all of us
You sure?
for the round table. Yeah, but that was such a great trip because it was our first nom as a
As a group.
group of
Yeah.
marauding pirates.
Yeah, like that was, because I had been before a bunch of times and I was like, come on you guys, we all have to have a convention here.
Yeah,
And we did that for years, man.
we did it for a few years, but the first one, you never forget your first one, and it was so much fun getting to meet all of the guys.
And then, I guess a couple years after that was the one where we were getting a little bit more hooked up with like passes and, they have all these incredible concerts and we would get these. So anyway, Venom Boy we could all get in, but Venom Boy Art had got like 2 backstage passes where you could hang out with all the rock stars like in the back of the venue.
Oh, I wasn't there on that one.
Yeah, and so we would take turns, like Art had a camera, so Art and I are going out there, and of course I am pretty good at that, like, oh look, that's so-and-so, like, and plus they have badges on, so
Sure.
you can read their name. So we see the Doug Aldrich guy, and we start talking to him,
Well,
and
that was after he had been like one of us, right?
yeah.
So I had interviewed Doug Aldrich when he was still in Dio, and Doug and I became rather friendly, and You know, I would call it. I sent him a check for his when he had a baby, and I, you know, gave him sent him a baby gift and shit. And Doug was, you know, pretty much one of us who had a really good fortune of. Look, he's a phenomenal
that's
player,
when
but he actually started getting
He started
famous.
getting famous.
Right.
So we were like knew who he was,
Right.
you know. So
but he knew who we were.
yeah, well, that's the thing. So Art and I walk up, and he's like, you know, yeah, we're the Dinosaur Rock guys. And he's like, you are? And what's his name? Mark Peters. His what was his handle?
Duojet.
Duojet. So Doug, just looks as he goes, is Duojet here? And we're like, yeah. He's like, take me to him. So we were like, oh crap. So we come out, and these guys were all like sitting around, like watching the bands and stuff. And we're looking at me, you guys are not going to believe this. And the next thing, he comes out with his handlers, and he took us back to this freaking VIP lounge. And then he goes and gets his gold top Les Paul and let us all play it. And so there's all these pictures of me like, ooh. Anyway, that was an awesome freaking adventure that was a Dinosaur Rock thing.
Also, one of my other favorite moments that did not happen, I guess, online was, well, meeting you guys, but this was not my first encounter with an R4 member. My first encounter was with Ezequiel Merlo Zeppelin.
Easy.
He lives in Buenos Aires. I went over to see my team play a soccer game against his team in his town in Buenos Aires. Meeting you guys is maybe my favorite moments, for sure.
Hi guys, my name is Nelson. On the site you know me as Bad Stuff, and I'm not a guitar player, which is probably a little unusual. A friend of mine, a guitar player, turned me onto the site well over 10 years ago, and the reason I stuck with the site, when I was reading through the guitar profiles, the one that really stuck out for me was the Gary Moore profile, because he's my favorite guitar player. And when I was reading it, I said, that's exactly what I would say if somebody asked me about Gary. These guys nailed it. Started going through the profiles, and I said these are spot on. So I stuck with the site, and I was actually on the site a lot more in the beginning. You got to, you know, this was way over 10 years ago. spent a lot of time on the site in the beginning because I like the comments from the members. I like the concert reviews and all. You know, I always learned something new when I came onto the site. So, you know, for me as a drummer, I am a guitar fanatic, as you can see from the shirt. I like the site because, you know, it's my element. It's geared to a lot of the music and guitar players that I like, and I like to read things about them that maybe I don't know.
So anyway, we digress. So
Yeah.
here's the thing: we're talking about great DRG moments. After the site got up and running, and all these people who became lifelong friends found it, one of the people who found it, he's not here tonight because he's at someone else's gig.
Who, Joe Tadaro?
Joe.
Hi, my name is Amy Douglas. I am the artist known as Amy Douglas, but I'm actually the woman known as Amy Barron. I am married to Dinosaur David B. I am his wife, and in fact, I've been asked to speak about my favorite moments about DRG over the last, wow, was it 20 years? This is incredible. That's an achievement, guys. So congratulations, first and foremost, to everybody who's been a part of this for 20 years, and of course to the main creator himself, my hubby. I came to know of DRG through my former lead guitarist and now friend Joe Tadaro, who basically I was in a band with him called Ethos. And he mentioned to me that I was really going to enjoy this website that was very focused on what I thought was just guitar-driven music originally and initially. I wasn't really aware that this was like a website for guitarists, per se. Joe is very bad at explaining things. And so he didn't really tell me that, you know, in addition to talking about things like guitar players and the likes, you know, this was also a place where people were discussing gear and amps, and I didn't see that.
They came up to Newton, Massachusetts to play a gig. And I heard like clips of this band and I heard the singer and I was like, whoa, holy shit. Aside from the fact that Joe's a great player, I heard the singer and I was like, my God, this girl can sing her ass off. And I went to see the band and I asked my then wife at the time, I said, look, I'm going to see some people who I know from my website. They're playing in Newton. Do you want to come see this band with me tonight? Now! And it was, you know, it was during the time where our relationship was going south anyway, so I was like, okay, I'll go without you. I went without her. I watch Ethos play their gig. I'm blown away by the band, and especially by Amy. And then after they played, Amy and I got to sit and have dinner, and that's when the magic happened.
Obviously, my favorite moment throughout the 20 years of DRG is that for 15 of them, I've been married to its creator, who I think is a fantastic writer, and his words were the thing that kind of drew me in. And we've, got 15 years in on this thing. But also, it's been so great over the years to meet the other forum members. It was great meeting Vinny in Paris. It's been great getting to know Jeb over the years. It's been great getting to know Carrie down in New Orleans, and so many wonderful people. And it's so nice to see people that come together for such a great thing like music, always being the galvanizing force. It's been wonderful, and I only hope for another 20 years.
So this website that I started, aside from giving me lifelong friends like this guy and some of the other people that you heard from tonight, and Joe, I would not have met my wife Amy had it not been for this website. So anyway, the point is, this dude is my brother. He's been my brother for 20 years.
And I had one guitar for all that time too. Remember that
He's
shit?
the only one, I think, of all of us. Marvin's got one guitar that he's associated with. But most of us have a bunch of guitars. Jeb has got one guitar. He recently.
And it's only recently that I've gotten another one.
You got the Jebcaster recently, but I mean this is the dude who has the one beat to shit Paul Reed Smith guitar that still sounds fantastic.
Which were not
when he
like popular dinosaur rock guitars.
No.
Some people were like, ew,
No.
TRS, you need a Les Paul. You need a flying
This is the only guy I ever knew personally who could take a Paul Reed Smith and throw it through a Mesa amp and get godly tone out of it.